I'm a curator at the National Zoo.
I am passionate about working with people in the Amazon.
I am an ornithologist and a bird watcher.
We do a lot of conservation.
I have worked in animal care.
I like snakes, I like lizards, I just wanted to work with those things.
That is our Sumatran tiger.
My name is Amaya.
My name is Kaylee.
My name is Zilia.
What about your work brings hope to the future?
Hello, and welcome to Conservation Nation Academy. I am glad to have you all here to explore this amazing world of conservation champions. My name is Shawna, and I'll be your host today. I think wildlife is amazing, and I love animals. And I'm incredibly happy to introduce you to some conservation champions from Conservation Nation. Conservation Nation is an organization that is working to build a more diverse and inclusive community of people working on the front lines of wildlife conservation. They're out there working to save wildlife and wild places, and I can't wait for us to learn from them. We sent student reporters out on assignment to ask your questions to the people protecting the amazing creatures we share this planet with. So let's take a look at who we're talking to today. Wave hi to our student reporters from the Washington School for Girls, one of our awesome Conservation Nation Academy schools. We've got Maiko, Kaylee, Aaliyah, Amaya, and Anna Rose. We are also joined by the conservation champions that these student reporters are here to interview. These are conservationists, wildlife educators, and nature guides and advocates out there making a difference. So wave hello to Anne, a safari guide in Kenya, Craig, who takes care of all the big cats at the National Zoo, Jamani, a conservation advocate fighting for the planet, Tanoya, a conservation educator working with students in the Bahamas, Isaac, a zookeeper working to protect endangered snakes in Armenia, Tanya, a social scientist who works with communities in the Peruvian Amazon, and Isaiah, a natural history illustrator and bird enthusiast extraordinaire. Now, I bet you've heard that everything that lives on this planet is connected. Well, it's true. And that means helping protect wildlife has a big impact on helping people too. It's sort of a ripple effect, where helping one creature helps another, which can strengthen an ecosystem. And that benefits a huge diversity of life, including us humans. Today, we are going to get to know some of those professionals who turn their love of nature into a job. They get paid to love animals, make a difference for nature, help educate people, and change policy. And basically, just create those ripple effects for us all. Today, we are playing Conservation Champion Bingo. Maybe your teacher gave you a worksheet and a bingo card, or maybe they're passing them out now. Basically, you follow along in the video and answer as many questions as you can on the worksheet. When you have a question answered on the worksheet, you can find that number on your bingo card and mark it off. When you cover a line of 5, all the way across, side to side, up and down, or diagonal, you know what you've got. Bingo! Enjoy meeting the experts and listen closely. Our student reporters, Kaylee and Amaya, are going to kick us off with a question to introduce our first group of conservation champions.
What is your work now? Why are you passionate about what you are doing?
I'm passionate about trying to keep the animals alive or existing that I see right now, so that my kids, your grandkids, my grandkids, all the future generations can see and appreciate the same animals that we do. So right now, these guys are my work. They're sorry, they're very loud. I can't do anything to stop them. It'll be over in just a second. Okay, wow. So
Oh, go ahead.
they're loud. So the work that I do now, I'm a curator at the National Zoo. I am in charge of the big cats for the most part. So I'm one of the supervisory animal care staff here at the zoo.
I think when I was like 8 years old, I decided what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, which is herpetology. So that's the study of reptiles and amphibians. And ever since I made that up in my head when I was really, really young, that's all I ever really wanted to do. So it's like, I like snakes, I like lizards, I just wanted to work with those things. But the more I got into it, the more I learned about these animals and the more I learned how much conservation work needs to be done with them, the more I just got invested and decided like this is fully what I want to do forever. And this is what makes me happy. So my title is a herpetology zookeeper. So herpetology is just reptiles and amphibians. And I work at the St. Louis Zoo, where I take care of our large collection of snakes, lizards, crocodiles, frogs, things like that. And along with that being my day job, we also get to work in lots of really cool conservation projects across the whole world. So we work saving frogs and snakes and turtles and all sorts of things. The project I've been working on most recently is the conservation of vipers in Armenia, which has been a really, really fun project to work with.
I have worked in animal care at a zoo. So I worked there for 12 years. And so I actually was hands-on training animals and giving presentations, working with communities, with ambassador animals, and just kind of bringing some awareness towards wildlife. And then I later moved in. Thank you. I later moved into a position where I got to tell people about the science of what was going on in our watershed with our bay and connect them to resources so that they could know what was going on in their community. So I worked in community outreach.
Wow. You can see why we call them conservation champions. They work on very different stuff, but it's all about making the world a better place and protecting our wildlife and natural spaces. And what did they all have in common? They all participated in conservation projects through their work at zoos. It's awesome to know that so many zoos are working to protect animals in their wild habitats. You want to make sure the zoos you're visiting and supporting are good for animals and are aligned with your values. What are your bingo cards looking like out there? Let's get to know our next few conservation champions and get you some more answers. Anna Rose has a question to get us started with Anne and Isaiah.
Can you tell us what is the work that you do now? Why you're passionate about this work?
I always knew that I wanted to work with animals when I was younger, but I didn't know whether I wanted to be a zookeeper or a park ranger or even a paleontologist. But I had very supportive parents, teachers, and mentors in my life who inspired me and guided me to where I am today. So now I am an ornithologist and a bird watcher, and I study birds, and I also share the beneficial experience of bird watching with everyone. I'm passionate about bird watching because it gave me a higher purpose in my life to be able to explore the world's diversity of birds, to go outside and connect with nature, and to share this experience with other people and create a sense of community in the world. I truly hope that my work inspires youth, especially Black, Indigenous, and people of color, to go outside and connect with nature and to have an awareness of threats to birds and wildlife that are around us. I also hope to inspire the next generation of conservationists for our world.
So the current work that I do, I'm a tour guide. I take guests around Masai Mara. And maybe just to show you some of the things that we use when we are doing our game drives, that is going outside, have an experience on looking for animals and showing people coming from outside Kenya how we work in Masai Mara. We have some of the tools, and one of them is the binoculars. We need to be looking for animals around. And of course, you know, when guests come around, they don't have like photographic memory. So yes, I got something here that we use for photography, the big cameras. So when guests come around, I take them for game drives. I'm also a driver guide, and it's one of a job done by men mostly. So I'm quite unique trying to get out of that mentality of this is a man's job. The most thing that makes me feel like this is the good job for me is I'm doing what women are not doing mostly. It's a male-dominated industry, and I'm trying to change the theme of my community. Like, It's not only men to do this, but also we ladies can do it. And of course, coming from a community where women were not valued, I wanted to show my community like we can do this and we can also progress in life.
Have you ever heard of ecotourism? Well, ecotourism is what we call it when people travel somewhere to learn about nature. Ecotourism guides like Anne and Isaiah take people into natural areas, explain what they are seeing and why it matters, and make sure that they have a safe, fun, and educational experience. Ecotourism ensures that the wildlife and wildlands are protected and visited in responsible ways. And guides work hard to make sure that the tourism benefits local communities as well. It takes a lot of experience, training, energy, and people skills to be a good guide. All right, now let's meet a few more experts. This next group works with people to help protect nature. Aaliyah, would you get us started with a question for Tanya and Jamani?
Why are you passionate about what you are doing today?
I am passionate about like working with people in the Amazon because I believe that they are like a key component of conservation, for instance. I think that many times, like in the past, conservation was like trying to take them out of the land, taken out of the rainforest, because they believe that they may not understand the concept of how to like sustain those environments, those ecosystems. And I think that's changing. And I think it's very, very efficient to understand that if you want to do conservation, that you need to also understand the people, the locals, because I think they have a lot of knowledge in how these environments work. And also they have like a very like these interrelationships, like reciprocity between like their environments, how they take care of their land, their forests, their animals, but also how they also receive food, water, important things for them. So it's, yeah, that's what I'm passionate about them. But I wanted to show something that I'm been working for my research. This is just an example, but these are like, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but it doesn't matter if you can see the little letters because it's just like a wheel and a calendar. So what I do is I'm trying to understand how's the fishermen, because I'm working with fishermen in the Amazon, how is they can organize their resources and manage their resources in these calendars, because usually they don't, I mean, these are months, but it could also be between like rainy season and dry season. So this is kind of like what I'm doing right now and trying to use this as a tool that can serve for different purposes like education, cultural, and research.
My work now consists of me working as a DC conservation advocate for Nature Forward, which is an environmental nonprofit that works to ensure that people enjoy, learn, and protect nature. And I work as in advocacy of surrounding different district policy issues, but also in outreach, particularly in Ward 7 and 8. As a child, I just knew I wanted to help people. I think I would say broadly, I wanted to help people. I went from wanting to be a police officer to a fashion designer to an investigator to a doctor, just a bunch of different things. And what inspired me, I was on the track to be an engineer when I was in high school and even when I went to college. And what inspired me was one of my teachers who really got me involved in social issues, things that impacted my community, Black communities, and other people of color. And that's what kind of made me make the switch over from the science and tech type things to things that involved more people and just interacting with people, getting to know them, what was important to them, and how to help them. You can do anything you want and be anything you want in this space, but in other spaces as well. And I think a lot of times people don't say that they don't think they're creative or they don't have like certain skills, but I like to point out the strengths in different people, and with advocacy and collaborating with other partners, we're able to pull on each other's strengths, which I really love to do.
I love how connected everything is. Everything in nature is so intertwined, and our communities are all wrapped up and connected with it. Conservation means working to protect nature, to promote the diversity of life on our planet, to prevent extinction. It means helping heal the damage humans have done to wildlife. That's actually a great segue over to our bingo cards. Because question number 1, what is conservation? Should be an easy one. We were just talking about that. So go ahead and write what conservation means in your own words. When you're finished with that answer, feel free to use this time to work ahead on the worksheet. I'm going to put some time on the clock, see how many you can answer and cross off that card. Let's dive back in. Imaiko, get these fine folks talking to us. We need to get to know them better and get more of these answers filled out.
When you were a child, did you know what you wanted to do as an adult? Or did anyone or anything in particular inspire you?
So as a child, I would say I was very exploratory, if you will. I was an only child, so I like to do a lot of things by myself. But when I did get around other students and other kids, I had a really great time. I spent a lot of time in nature. I was in nature club. I was in a jump rope team for like 10 years. I got to travel all over the US. And I just like to be active. I like to meet people, talk to people. And I don't know, I think I was pretty fun as a kid, honestly. Yeah.
I think the best way to describe me as a child was I was a busybody. I loved to run around, explore things. Sometimes I got myself into trouble, but I just loved the beach and I loved just being underwater and exploring the world around me. So very, I think, exploratory and maybe a little bit cantankerous as a child. Kind of always poking buttons.
Yeah.
Why? So
No, that sounds just like me.
I think when I was a little guy, I just walked around saying I want to be a scientist, and I didn't really know what that meant. So I was always into science. And then as I got more and more interested in animals, certainly there were people who inspired me. Some of the people I saw on TV, names that you might not be familiar with necessarily, like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom and things like that. The folks who were very similar to, I guess, the Crocodile Hunter and Kratz Creatures type people. The people who were doing animal shows kind of inspired me until I became an adult and met some of the people who were in my specific field.
Are you the first person in your family or community to do this work?
Right on. I am the first person in my family. So I come from a family like a lot of people, my parents had nothing. The lions are very talkative. Um, my parents didn't know much about animals at all. My father was career military. My mother was a school teacher. And so when I expressed an interest in animals, they just kind of guided me to go and talk to some of our local veterinarians and things like that. So I am the first person in my family to do this kind of work. My community, to me, that's a really deep question, because to me, my community means a couple of things. So I come from a military town in North Carolina. That's that community that I come from. But I'm also a member of another community. I'm a member of the Black community, and so when you talk about that community being involved in this work, there aren't many of us involved in this work. So I'm not the first, but I'm one of the few in this field, in that community from which I come.
My brothers went to school to university, so I'm not the first one in that, but I'm definitely the first one to be in grad school, to have a master's or a PhD right now. I'm the first one to leave my country. So my entire family lives in Peru, in this town that's not even the capital, but so I'm the first one to kind of leave home and like do something outside the country and do academia. And yeah, the barriers, there are a lot of barriers. Like, I mean, I think for someone who's not from Lima in Peru, it's very, very difficult. Those language barriers, I had to learn English. I learned English when I was 16. So it wasn't like when I was like in elementary school or anything. And I had to overcome a lot of things also that relates with discrimination and also being a woman, because I think that's something that I still had to struggle in a country like Peru. It's very, very difficult to be a researcher, to be a woman, and to be young. It's kind of like very challenging. You have to sometimes learn when your experiences, and you also have to like believe in yourself and show people that you're capable and that everyone can learn, because sometimes it's a matter of like it's a lot of prejudice against someone who's like young, and I'm sure it's very similar in other countries too, but so yeah.
Yeah, I am the only one in my family that's even close to this career path. Like, I remember growing up and my grandparents were like, why do you want to do that? Like, don't you want to be a doctor? Don't you want to, like, it was just very foreign, especially growing up in the Bahamas. It was, tourism, banking, doctor, lawyer. The end. Those were the prime career paths that parents would sort of push their kids towards. And I think some of that is preservation, like making sure that their children could take care of themselves and pay for bills and live. But I think a lot of it was also like just the unknown. And so, to be honest, like a lot of my family like didn't really know what to do with me. My mom, like, she was just like, well, if you want to do this, like, let's call this place and then I can drop you off, type of thing. Or everybody in my family every year got me something with dolphins on it, because when they thought of marine biology, it was just dolphins. So I had like 100 dolphin things.
Was there ever a time you wanted to give up? What changed your mind?
Yeah, definitely. I had like a lot of people who told me like that I was too young, but I think what motivated me was the same thing that I told you before. It was like I wanted to work for people. I wanted to work for my region. I think that motivation to be something that can change, someone can change something and someone can help. I think that pulled me like out and just made me think like I have to try. Even if I fail, I have to try.
I definitely had setbacks and discouraging moments that made me feel like I wasn't going in the right direction. But how I changed my mind was realizing how far I've come pursuing my passion and all the great things that had come out of that.
I would say in school, I definitely wanted to give up. It's just difficult sometimes, but that's what makes life sweeter. Once you get past that hard part and you're able to look back and say, wow, I did that. And what kept me going was me keeping that goal and that big picture in mind, that I was going to walk across that stage and get my diploma.
I love learning more about their background. I'm so glad they all found their way into these unusual yet important careers, and that they kept going to overcome their challenges. Now let's get back to the experts. Kaylee and Anna Rose, take it away with the next question.
Can you show us how you do your work?
So how I do my work is with the help of these binoculars right here. And this is what I do. Just put your eyes up to the binoculars, and this is how I observe birds. My grandfather was also a bird watcher in his later years before he passed. But when I first started bird watching, I used his same binoculars that he would use, and this inspired me to keep the legacy going.
So that's one of the reasons I'm on my cell phone right now, because I saw your questions. I thought you guys had really good questions. So I'm going to try to show you a little bit of what I do if I don't forget my tools, because I think that was part of the question, was the tools that we use. So I'm in the kitchen right now. You heard the lions roaring, and this is one of my primary tools. I'm going to try to do this without jiggling the phone too much so I don't make you sick. But the meat that they eat. So we're gonna see if one of our tigers wants to participate, because she is one of the bigger tools that I use when I'm at work, is the actual cats. So I'm gonna try to do this. Bear with me with my there. So I just switched the focus to one of our tigers there. That is our Sumatran tiger. And I'm gonna see if she wants to. Demai, what do you think? Come here, girlfriend. We're gonna see if she'll come over for us. Come here, girlfriend. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I'm gonna switch the phone back around real quick. So you'll see that I had to mask up. That's another one of the tools that we use when we're at work here, is that we mask up when we're near the big cats. But again, I'm gonna switch the focus a little bit more, just so that you can see her, because she doesn't feel like coming over to say hi to me right now. But these are the biggest tools that I use at work, right? They're the cats that we're trying to conserve. So Demai is an example of an animal who is a member of a species that is critically endangered, so really close to becoming extinct. She's a Sumatran tiger. So that was the best example that I could think of to show you the tools that I work with, if that counts.
And another important thing for my work is this. I mean, most of my work is ethnography, interviews, talking to people. So I always have these things with me, because I can, like, if I have the chance to have some important information, I can record it and I have it for my research. And of course, a notebook to record my notes and things that I consider important for my research. So yeah, I think that's kind of like what I do. It's a lot of patience, requires a lot of patience, a lot of like understanding people's behaviors, and understanding like how to work in these interrelationships when you're a researcher and also local.
So what has been the wildest or the most exciting day in your profession?
So the most exciting day is like in the Masai Mara, we have the Great Migration. So whenever a guest comes around and say like, hey, you know what, we're going for a Great Migration, and it's never a sure bet thing. So we have to leave the camp very early in the morning, and then you go to the crossing area and you wait for like even 6 hours waiting for a herd of wild beasts to cross the river. And you know, there will be a lot of actions. So it's exciting from the waking time, like you're waking very early in the morning, you have a main target, like, yo, I need to find these wild beasts crossing, and it's like 1 million wild beasts crossing the river. So like, it's exciting how you start the whole day, how the migration is going to happen, who will be killing who will be hunted, who will be injured. So exact time of the year that I normally get excited is July, August. That month is crazy. Yeah.
Oh, so probably the most exciting thing that ever happened to me, or heart racing thing that ever happened to me at work, was one day I threw a cheetah on a guy. So it's a long story, but basically the cat was waking up from anesthesia and decided to try to climb a fence. And I reacted by grabbing the animal by her back leg and just tossing her back toward the enclosure she was supposed to be in. And she landed on my buddy and jumped off of him. Now that sounds like it's, oh my God, a cheetah's the size of a good sized dog, 60, 70 pounds, maybe 80 pounds for a big cheetah, but this one was around 70-ish pounds. So and cheetahs are very different than lions and tigers. They're not the, I'm going to rip you apart kind of cats. They are big cats, and it wasn't the safest situation, but that was the wildest and scariest thing that ever happened to me during my time here.
Yeah. So I used to work with penguins and seals and sea lions. So I've had some pretty wild days with them, as well as Komodo dragons and otters, and, doing everything from transporting a sea lion from Omaha to Texas. So that kind of exciting stuff. I've also been to Mongolia and been able to explore the steppe and look for Pallas cats, which I think is really cool. I've also spent a lot of time underwater, just, helping with different projects. And so I think if I really stop and reflect, there's so many really cool moments, but I also think that, the moments when I am working with a 6-year-old and a butterfly lands on them, that's pretty special.
This is a tough question, but my wildest moment was when I attended the Black Birders Retreat on Little St. Simon's Island, Georgia. There I was able to meet many amazing people doing great works in the field of birdwatching who looked just like me.
What has been one of your proudest moments during your profession?
My proudest moment would have to be when I was admitted to Cornell University, which is the top place in the world to study birds. This was my dream school because this is where I was first inspired to go birdwatching, and I was super excited to return as a student to continue my ornithological career.
My proudest moment is winning the best female guide in the whole world with the Eco Trip Match. Yeah, I recently got the award from Eco Trip Match, and being the first lady to win that is an exciting moment. And at least now people are recognizing, like women, we can still do good jobs. And I think that is my exciting moment. It has been like several months since I received the award, but it's still trending in the whole of Kenya. So it's so exciting.
That's another tough question. I can't really pinpoint any one moment, but the moments that stand out to me is when I'm at work and someone will come up and ask me a question, and I'm able to talk to them for a good period of time and get them really excited about conservation work, the animals that we work with, and things like that. There's been lots and lots of times where a kid will come up to me with just a small question and it turns into a big conversation, and they leave that talk being really excited about lots of things and might inspire them to go into a similar field when they grow up, which is always an exciting and proud moment for me.
Oh my gosh, new phobia unlocked, having a cheetah thrown at me. I'm actually excited to start daydreaming about going on a safari with Anne and kicking back with Isaiah to birdwatch, or lions yelling at me in the background. Oh, how amazing is that? Alrighty, Maiko, back to you for our last question.
What about your works bring you hope for the future?
We do a lot of conservation through even maybe care of the people, care of the land, and even care of the wildlife. So I know the conservation has a great future if we hold the three things together, because you can't let humans go away, you can't let animals go away, and you cannot leave the land without preserving it. Those three things comes together for conservation. So I have a future, like if we continue with different, maybe come up with the initiatives and companies coming together and doing all this conservation.
Yeah, I think since I work with people, I think what brings me hope is always like when I meet new people and new communities, when I meet young leaders from these regions. I have been working with young leaders too. And I think they bring me hope because they made me realize that things are changing. A lot of women, young women in the Amazon are trying to be better, are trying to help others? Or
I would say people like you, young people like you might go, that are interested and take interest, but also have passion for this work. It's it's really beautiful to actually see. I'm not like there's a lot it's great when you see young people that care about, certain issues anyway, but when they care about nature and how it impacts themselves and how it impacts their communities, it always is really sweet to see, and it definitely keeps me going. I would say, like, overall, a really big driver for a lot of people in climate change work or conservation work is our future generations, which is you all. So that's what definitely keeps me going and keeps helps me have hope, because y'all have all the fire, all the power, and don't care what anybody else says. And I love that as young people, we tend to be a lot more outspoken and a little less afraid of the consequences, because we know what's at stake here.
Conservation Nation works with these conservation heroes to help protect and conserve critical species. They fund all kinds of amazing efforts all around the world. So maybe they even work with your favorite animal or fund a project right in your area. And keep your eyes open. Look closely around for nature and how it interacts with humans. Maybe you'll find a way you can help. There are kids in Chicago helping the birds who are injured by accidentally flying into glass buildings. There are students in Baltimore working on better recycling and trash can placement to keep litter out of their bay. And students in Idaho have talked to their government representatives about issues they care about most. The possibilities are endless. These conservation champions need all of our help. So get curious, ask questions, look closely, do the research, and then help stand up for your local wildlife and wild places. They deserve our respect, and it's important to make sure they aren't forgotten or hurt. And I hope you'll join us in the ongoing fight to solve the global wildlife conservation challenge. We need every voice and every innovation to tackle the big issues our planet faces. I want to give a huge thank you to Amaya, Imaiko, Anne, Craig, Anna Rose, Aaliyah, Isaac, Jamani, Kaylee, Tanya, Isaiah, and Tanoya, and of course, for all of you students and teachers out there. I'm your host, Shawna. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay wild.